Welcome in again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the R&D Sports Report. My name's Dishmond, and I am joined here, as always, by Rylee. Rylee, how we doing?
I'm doing great, my dude.
All right, it makes it a lot easier to record this thing when it's nice and sunny outside. It brings in the energy to us, so...
Yes, as you can tell, I just want to jump up in the air. But I can't jump, so, you know.
Do it, you won't.
All you hear is a big old thud.
All right, so already the podcast is off the rails. But,
yes.
Oh, well. We'll be okay. We'll get it back on track here at some point.
Oh, come on. I hate rails.
All right, so... There's quite a bit to talk about, but I think for our interest, the best place to start right now is going to be the NBA playoff race. Some games some series have been played twice by now. Some have only been played once and will play later this evening. But there are a few surprises.
God bless you, senor. No, God bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry about that. Feel better now, though.
You do? Okay,
I do.
At least you didn't spray on the mic.
So, a couple surprises, a couple that aren't so surprising. I think if you're talking about surprises, maybe the most surprising is the Pelicans having a 2-0 lead on the Trailblazers right now.
Yes.
If we're talking of surprises, it might also be the Cavs losing and LeBron losing for the first time in the first round of the playoffs since, I think they said, was it 2012? Because it had been 21 straight.
Yeah. When it, like,
before 21 straight games where he hadn't lost.
Yeah, because I believe he was on the Heat and then he went back to the Cavs like 3 years later.
Like when you think about it, in the first round there's there's 4 games.
Yeah.
So, although for some reason I still think they do a 5-game series, but maybe I'm wrong. So
I'm just saying, our results on the last episode was like, we look back at it and like I feel like we're doing pretty good, pretty reasonable.
Well, I was gonna say we're for the most part pretty spot on to where kind of we had predicted, with the exception right now of the Cleveland series, the Cavs and the Pacers. I'm trying to think. Do we say 5 games there or 6? I know we both took Cleveland winning.
I think we both said 5. I think you said 6, and then I said 5.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. We should have probably we should have probably like researched what we actually said beforehand, but
life goes.
Well, who cares about the facts?
No kidding.
Really.
Screw facts.
Who wants to actually get them correct? But if you said 5 and I said 6, the Pacers Cavs series is kind of right on par for that. If the Cavs run off the Cavs run off 4 straight, then you have your 5-game series. If the Pacers pick up another one,
did you say Cavs?
Yeah, you didn't catch that. I said Cavs.
Yeah,
instead of Cavs, I said Cavs.
Well, I guess you're catching a cab, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Get out.
I'm sorry.
Get out. I'll do this thing by myself. All right, so.
Oh, my God.
Golly day. Apparently the sun is not a good factor when it comes to us recording.
I love the sun, dude. I get so hyped. Oh.
All right, so the Pacers Cavs series, do we think now, granted this is just a 1-0 lead, and they asked LeBron after the game, like pretty much if he was worried, and he was like, look, I've been down 3-1 before.
That is true.
And he came back to win, so
that is true.
In
the championship,
right?
By the way,
against the Warriors, but
yeah. Sucky.
But is it time to hit the panic button for the Cavs, or is this just a mild set? I mean, because this was a loss at home.
Yeah,
they were getting booed by their own fans.
Yeah, that's pretty hurtful, dude. That's pretty hurtful.
So, is this a major setback, minor setback? Do we think the Pacers actually can win the series now?
Yeah, I feel like they just got one lucky game. Now, do I want the Pacers to win? Yes. I thought the Cavs were going to win, and I'm not going to jump to conclusions just yet. But I do think if the Pacers keep up with this momentum that they have, they will win the round.
And I think you make a good point there in that you're not going to jump off yet. You know, this may go seven games.
Yes, it will. Or it should.
Well, and who knows? But who knows? You know, now the Cavs could be mad and just come and blow them out because, you know, is it that they didn't take Victor Oladipo and the Pacers seriously? Is it that they just got on an off night? Because, you know, that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously this is not like the NCAA tournament where if you're off one night, you're done.
Yeah.
Right? You have a chance to bounce back. And I think tonight's game will kind of tell you a lot. You know, if the Cavs win but they barely win, the Pacers, I think, will stretch it to a 7-game series. But, you know, if the Pacers come out and play like they did last game, this may be a sweep by the Pacers.
I'd be shocked, to be honest with you.
And then, you know, of course, it kind of leads my mind into, does this kind of indicate how maybe done LeBron is in Cleveland? Like, you know, how much maybe he doesn't want to play. Like, obviously he wants to win because he wants to be known as the greatest of all time, right? He wants to be the GOAT.
Yeah.
And, you know, almost the way to be able to do that if you're chasing somebody like Jordan is to win a lot of championships. You know, obviously LeBron just played all 82 games in the season, which props to him. Like,
yeah, no kidding. That's
like,
a lot of work.
even though he's 33 or something like that, I think he's still in his 15th season in the NBA. You know, that in and of itself will take a toll on you, and I know he had some, like, former Navy SEAL kind of help him with his back problems that almost ended his career.
Yeah.
And he's looking better than ever, but maybe he's done in Cleveland. Maybe he's done with Dan Gilbert and that whole organization, and he's like, look, I don't really care anymore because, you know, I know the 76ers have all this space open, and I'm going there next summer, or I'm going to the Lakers. But getting off track here for a second, I do honestly, the more reports come out, obviously, and I know there are reports and they're not always like 100% factual sometimes. But the more and more you read and the more I think about it, like, I really think Philly is an option for him.
It could be a possibility and a huge one as well. Where would I like to see him go? I personally would like to see the Lakers, but I also think, you know, him being on Philly with one Embiid, and then you got Ben Simmons, and then Markelle coming back.
Well, and you still have J.J. Redick there.
Exactly.
Like, the 76ers, they have a lot of cap room.
Yes, they do.
To be able to sign him.
Yeah.
They've got young talent, which in the past, you know, we saw when he went to Miami, and we saw the reserves on that team, right? They weren't young. They were older players that could take veteran minimum. And, you know, there were some young players that were more of a little bit of a kind of a project-y type player.
Yeah.
But, you know, even coming back to Cleveland, didn't really want Andrew Wiggins there in his rookie season. Trade and get Kevin Love. So, you have, you know, like, you have experience there in Philly, and the talent's still really young. Ben Simmons, although some don't believe he's technically in his rookie year, right? And, he'll be a second-year player next year. Embiid's got, 3-4 seasons under him. Now, granted, he hasn't played all full seasons, but he's got that experience in. Markelle hasn't played a whole lot, but he'll be in his second season. J.J. Redick, I don't know. He's probably encroaching on 8 or 9 seasons. They have other players, obviously, and some good ones, and I can't think of their names. But, you look at that talent and you go, man, Embiid inside. Simmons also can play inside. Embiid can stretch it. Simmons can pass it. LeBron, you just think of that entire dynamic with that team. Have a shooter like a J.J. Redick where LeBron drives, pitched and kicks it out. Boom, J.J. for 3. The thought of a starting lineup that has Markelle Fultz, J.J. Redick, LeBron, Ben Simmons, and Embiid, that's a deadly starting lineup.
Yes, it is. Now, I know, I don't want to get off track here, but when
we're already on that train.
True. When you say that starting lineup is deadly, which it is, don't get me wrong. What about their bench? I always think about the team's bench.
Now, I mean, I agree. They have some players on the bench now.
Yeah.
That could also still be there. They have some foreign players, and one of them is I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. And he's been good for him so far this season also, and maybe you move him to the bench. But they also, I think, have some other assets where they've drafted other assets, and they could still come in. They're still playing over in Europe, but they have the rights to them. So, let me see if I can find his name real quick. I just
you look at the Thunder's bench, and it's okay. You got 2 great people on the bench.
Well, and you talk about bench, that's one of the things that the Heat had issues with. Really, that first year, the big 3 were together, right?
Yeah,
they didn't really have a serviceable bench to assist them. That's what's made the Warriors so good, is to have a guy like an Andre Iguodala to come off the bench. Jordan Bell this year, and you have to have the players to be able to do that, to be able to match up for you, to help you out, to give your stars the rest.
Right.
And I think the 76ers, they do have that bench that could be there for them. So that's kind of my thought, because they have a lot of younger players on the bench, and if they have to, they still have some cap space. I think even after signing LeBron, to go out and get another 1 or 2 smaller named players, so to speak.
No, don't get me wrong. Just when I always hear deadly lineup, I always think of what's on the bench.
It's only deadly if they're all in the game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I completely understand what you're saying.
So, question-wise, right, who would you think has the best bench? Me, personally, I would probably say Golden State. But, I don't know. Who else would be? Maybe the Rockets.
Rockets.
Yeah, I was going to say. Rockets are probably my second pick.
The Raptors. The Raptors don't have a bad bench.
No, they don't. But they don't
because there's not a whole lot of drop off.
So who would you think has the best bench?
I mean, honestly, the Celtics.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that the bench has proven to be good.
Well, and I say that because you're basically watching the bench play now.
Yeah, pretty much.
With Terry Rozier playing as good as he's been, Jaylen Brown,
Jason. Yeah, I mean,
Jason Tatum.
Yeah, is he in? I thought he got injured.
He might have gotten injured.
I can't remember.
I don't know. There's been so many.
He's still proving a point.
But yeah, their benches, when you had Kyrie and Gordon Hayward in there, you had Terry Rozier coming off the bench, you had Marcus Smart coming off the bench. There's so many players, and I think if we're talking best bench, it would either go, I think, to the Rockets or to the Celtics, but I would almost nod it to, I would give the one up to the Celtics there.
I'm kind of glad that you brought up the Celtics because I didn't even think about them. Their bench has proven to be really good, like really good. And I feel with Kyrie and Gordon, and I mean pretty much two great superstars out, it gives them a chance to prove what they can do. Not only that, but give them the game. It gives them a chance.
It also gives the Celtics
what
tradable assets.
True.
To go get a big name star.
Right.
I mean,
Paul George. Look, I don't want him leaving, but dude.
Well, I know, but you've also seen reports where they're like interested in an Anthony Davis.
Ooh, AD.
Like you haven't. Terry Rozier's been playing good enough. He goes for 23 points in this past game against the Bucks. So there's clearly talent there.
I don't think he'll ever get traded, but it could be a possibility. But dude, I don't want Paul George to leave, but I kind of like the Celtics, so it'd be kind of cool to see, PG go there, to go with Kyrie and Gordon. He'd play the small forward, but I mean he's built as a small forward.
He could, yeah.
Guard. What about LeBron? Come on.
I know, but Kyrie, could you imagine Kyrie trying to get away from him?
He's
and then,
oh my gosh, y'all brought him in, really? Bruh, I got away from him for a reason.
But we were talking about earlier the bench there for
the Sixers.
Yes, the Sixers. And I finally was able to figure it out. You have Ilyasova that plays. Saric, I think I'm mispronouncing that name. Covington, players that are playing now that could be moved to the bench. Here were the starters for the 76ers. Right, this was the starting lineup when they played the Heat. What day was this? Game 2. This was.
Yeah.
Hang on, I got to figure out the date. The 16th.
You got this, dude.
So this was Monday. This was the 16th Monday. And their starting lineup was Ilyasova at the power forward, at one forward, Saric at the other forward, Covington at the small forward, Ben Simmons at point guard, and J.J. Redick at shooting guard. Now, obviously, if you're going through that starting lineup, the one thing that hops out is Ben Simmons at point. But he's got the handles there, right? And he can play point, and he's not playing point because he's a dynamic scorer. He creates matchup problems then too. Well, no. But in that game, I will say, as point guard Ben Simmons, he had 8 assists, but then he also had 9 rebounds in that game. 2 blocks, 2 turnovers, and went for 24 points. So, Saric put in 23 points. J.J. Redick only had 11, which, by the way, J.J. Redick's been really quiet since he's been in Philly. But I think it's all the other hype. But saying all that, right, Bellinelli, I didn't even realize he was on the Sixers. Marco Bellinelli, he's on the
That name kind of made me laugh a little bit.
But, Markelle Fultz is coming off the bench right now, obviously coming back from injury. But we see, there is enough there. And obviously some of these players would have to take kind of a reduced role for a LeBron to come in. But at the same time, some of these players aren't necessarily always in the starting lineup because you have to think, Embiid wasn't in this game. He hasn't played. Markelle Fultz wasn't starting in the game. So, this lineup is, the starters there are, a little different than they might be if they had, a healthy roster with LeBron and all that. But
do you think that the players would even want to play with LeBron, though?
I think so.
Well, you gotta think, though. LeBron, if he goes to that young... bless you. Oh, bless you again. Oh, he
oh my
sprayed.
goodness, I'm sorry. Something is tickling my nose this morning, causing me to sneeze. But
anyways, like, just the way LeBron's personality is, and not like I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying, since he is the best, he does kind of get ahead of himself and can command and get on people's nerves to the point of where it's like, move aside. I'm LeBron James. Get out of my way. Like.
But at the same time, would that like help to push them to the next level, right?
It's possible, but like they could get just butthurt about it,
and they could. Yeah, I agree. They could just get angry and I'm not gonna play.
Right.
I'm not gonna listen to him boss me around this entire time. Like, yeah, I get that there. I get what you're saying, but it was an intriguing thought as you go into the playoffs and you see the Cavs kind of just being abysmal in that first game. But let's talk about the Heat, right?
The Heat been pretty good.
Getting that win in game 2, right? Obviously doesn't mean a whole lot because it's only one game. But you saw like a resurgence from Dwayne Wade coming off the bench, scoring 28 points.
Yeah, Dwayne went off, my dude.
Like, Hassan Whiteside only has 4 points in that entire game. But Dwayne goes for 28. And I don't know if you happen to see his like post-game interview, and they were like, what do you accredit to this? And he was like, Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And they were like, it took him back because he was just like, Kevin Hart. And, because he said, I know I still have some good games left in me. And I think it was just one of those, Kevin Hart chirping at him and D-Wade just being like, all right, let's do this then.
Pretty much. Kevin Hart, dude, I'm so sick and tired of him right now.
Well, and that's there's so much you're getting like an overload with him just because like he's like everywhere now. Which is like, and the problem is I like Kevin Hart. I think he's hilarious.
Oh, I do too.
But it's one of those, it's an overload thing. Just with the yodeling kid in Walmart, right?
Yodeling.
Thank you.
I got you.
But, it's like that. It's like anything that catches on, people use it and you see it so many times that it just runs it in, like, and that's what I feel with Kevin Hart is it's just like running me into the ground with Kevin Hart. Like, I'm just like, Kevin Hart, go away.
Exactly. Kevin Hart's to the point of like, why are you there? You're like an annoying bug. Get out of my face. Well,
he's like everywhere you look. He's at All-Star Weekend doing that stupid skit.
Yeah, no kidding. It's so annoying.
He's sat in front row of the 76ers game. And
like Drake. Drake is fine, though.
Drake is because he's always at the Raptors games.
Right.
Like, you always see him there throughout the season.
Yeah, no kidding. But with Kevin, like, he's
just, the problem with Kevin Hart is he's just everywhere.
Not only that, but I feel like he's trying to just get more attention.
And he may be,
like,
some people are just like that. But
right, but like, you got the money, you got the fame. I don't know what else you want, but whatever works for you.
I guess because he's so small in stature, he doesn't want people to forget about him.
Maybe.
Or you ready for this?
Don't
overlook him.
Oh my god. Dude, oh my gosh, dude, your jokes, get out, bro.
Oh, sorry, that pun was there, so.
So if you guys are listening, right, go down, leave a review, and tell us which one would you rather have do the podcast alone. Would you rather have me do the podcast alone, which, I'm just saying, I'm pretty fun, or would you rather have Dish as the podcast? Which one? Because apparently we got bad jokes, so y'all get to pick which one.
Just cut one of us out.
Yep.
All right.
Bah.
All right. So, any other games here in the playoffs? The Warriors have been just handling the Spurs. Now, the last game was a little bit closer on Monday. It was only a 15-point loss for the Spurs. So, improvement. But LaMarcus Aldridge goes for 34. But I think the thing to kind of consider also when you think of the Warriors, they're doing this without Steph.
Man, don't do that.
But like, They're destroying the Spurs without Steph.
My dude, like, Steph is a big part of the game. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not hating on him either. I'm just saying, like, really, it's Golden State, bro. Because Draymond Green's got this.
Well, and, yeah, like, I get it. It's, Golden State, Kevin Durant goes for 32. Klay Thompson, 31 in the last game. But it just...
Klay's been carrying it, by the way. I'm just throwing it out there.
Klay's a beast, and...
I like Klay, personally.
Like, I can see Klay leaving. I don't think it's this year. I think it's next year when he's able to sign a free agent deal. I can see him leaving and going to another team to be the superstar.
Yeah.
We've talked about, a certain team in the purple and gold that has some cap space that might not look to this offseason, but next offseason when a Kawhi Leonard and a Klay Thompson become available.
Ooh, they could be relevant again.
I'm just saying.
Ooh, no.
You put Klay in there with Lonzo, as well as Lonzo can pass the ball.
Ball, get it.
Oh my gosh. He's going to pass himself around. Wow. Okay, so with that, I think I've just won to be able to host by myself.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, that was worse than mine.
Yes, it kind of was. Wow, dude.
I don't even know how we're going to finish this thing, but we'll trudge on. But, I look at Golden State and I go, man, they're destroying the Spurs. And I go, oh, yeah. Steph's still not playing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
wait,
he's not, is he?
It's like missing.
Oh crap!
It's like missing a piece of the puzzle.
It is. It's like, okay, we're still missing the one piece out of the 100-piece puzzle. We have 99 pieces where we're still missing the one, and it's
99 problems.
Oh my! I knew where you're going. I was trying to ignore it.
Yes,
but
man,
I'm
on a roll.
I think it's almost that scary portion, like, Golden State is playing this well with missing a piece of their puzzle, and it's a thought that popped in my mind the other day, and I was like, whoa, what, wait a second, like, he's still not playing, that's right, like, I had assumed he was back, I guess.
Right. I think another series that's really interesting me right now is the Celtics and the Bucks, dude. Like, it's an even matchup. Granted, they don't have their stars, but I mean, the Bucks just have Giannis, though. Like,
I mean, they got
they
Bucks,
got Eric, but
I was gonna say they have Eric Bledsoe and Giannis.
No, and I love Giannis. Like, I really love the Greek.
Can you say his last name, by the way?
What?
Can you say Giannis's last name?
It's like I'm gonna butcher this. Okay,
Antetokounmpo?
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Dude. I'm gonna butcher this, and people are gonna be like, "What in the world is wrong with him?" They're gonna ask if I got a speech problem or something. But I just I think it's an even matchup. I think that with Celtics bench doing so well, I think that Boston's leading too.
I was gonna say they're up 2-0 in the series,
which I'm kind of surprised.
They won the last game by 14.
But Brad Stevens isn't like a bad coach either. He
No.
knows what he's doing.
And the funny thing is, while we're on the Brad Stevens thing here, when he was at Butler, I thought, man, he's a good coach. But is it just because he's at Butler? And when he went to the Celtics, I went, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Well, bless you, daggone again. Oh God. Bless you, darling.
I think half the podcast I've just sneezed my head off.
Well then, I guess I'll have to do it alone since you just died.
But no, because I will not allow people to suffer at your bad jokes.
Look, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
But when he left Butler for the Celtics, I was like, I just don't know how this is going to work out for the Celtics. Like, you've seen it before. Good coaches, and you could even consider, great coaches, go to the NBA and they just, it's a wet fuse, right? You can't light a wet fuse. Rick Pitino goes. Doesn't have success. John Calipari goes. Doesn't have the success. But I think Brad Stevens is kind of different in those two, and the fact that I think he approached it differently.
Well, he also adapts better than most of them.
Well, and I think, for like Pitino and Cal, they tried doing what had worked for them in the past, in college. They tried doing that same thing in the NBA, and you can't do that. And I've even heard Calipari say afterwards, that he would have done it differently because it is a different animal. You're not dealing with players that are at college to get your help. You're dealing with professionals that are getting paid more money than you are, that don't give a flying rat's chip about you.
Hashtag LeBron.
Well, and yes,
it's
as much as you kind of LeBron is arguably the best player in the world right now.
Yes,
and you could make a case that he's the best of all time. I'm just saying you can make the argument.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he is.
I know.
I'm saying you can make the argument.
Yes. Now, people that do that argument just waste their time, but I understand.
But yeah, and it's one of those things where you're like, okay, like, I don't have to listen to you, right?
Right.
If I'm the superstar here, if I don't like you, I'm going to get you fired. If Anthony Davis didn't really like Alvin Gentry down in New Orleans, he could go to the coaches and be like, hey, or to the owners and be like, hey, it's me or him. And, with that, it's just kind of like, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to coach, to go from coaching in college to then go and coach in the NBA and have success, right? You have to have that kind of certain breed, the adaptability. And I think for Cal, for Pitino, that's what they were missing when they were younger. Now, I think both of them could probably have more success doing it now because they've learned, right? They've learned from the first time, I can't do it this way. Brad Stevens didn't really need that. He learned early on, and I think it also helped with him being, a younger coach going in there, and his personality. It meshed well, and I can't tell you how surprised I am that he had that much success, so far in Boston. Like, it blows me away. Also, you got to give credit to Danny Ainge there and assembling, the team.
Yeah. Where
you can be missing Kyrie, where you can be missing Gordon Hayward, and you still are killing it because you've got, Terry Rozier and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum and Al Horford, and you have Aaron Baines as well. Like, some of these aren't big name players. Coming out of Louisville, Terry Rozier was a good player that people thought could stick, but didn't know how well he would stick, in the NBA. It wasn't like Donovan Mitchell coming out of U of L where people went, yeah, I can see where he's going to fit. Terry was kind of
it's here and
well,
there.
it was a risk. Like, he might be good for us, but you also think of it. They picked up Greg Monroe after he was waived. A veteran center to help you inside. You have Larkin that comes in and provides minutes, provides scoring. You have Marcus Morris there with the Celtics. The versatility also of the big man. Al Horford now being able to come out, shoot the three. Marcus Morris being able to come out and shoot, that versatility, the way they've assembled that team is just...
Don't forget about Marcus Smart.
Well, I only didn't mention him because he is injured.
Oh, is he?
I mean, he's not on their list here. I think he was out for the season now.
Dude, I need it.
But
there's so many injuries, I can't keep up with who and who.
Well, and there's so many that they're injured, but then they're back. John Wall was injured. Had the
Is he back?
scope? Yeah, he's back.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And doesn't appear to be helping at all for the Wizards as they're down 2-0 to the Raptors. But
John Wall got screwed. Like if they would have faced the Pacers and the Cavs and the Raptors would have been maybe a matchup that that would have been more reasonable.
I agree with that, but I think it also goes back to whoever is assembling that team in Washington is just like an idiot.
Pretty much.
Because you look at Philadelphia, yeah, they tanked forever.
Yeah, they did.
And they may say they didn't tank, they were just retooling and all that. Whatever. Well, and now that's what they're saying. They're trusting the process. But obviously they tanked to get that many. Cleveland kind of lucks into being able to pick LeBron and him being from that area and coming back home. But the problem with Washington is they've not really... you've got Bradley Beal around John Wall, but Bradley Beal's also... He's a James Harden-esque, not James Harden level, James Harden-esque player in the fact that he's a shooting guard that can shoot, but also wants to have the ball in his hands. That's what James Harden does. Can shoot, but also he wants the ball in his hands a lot. And I think there's a conflict there between a guy like John Wall and a Bradley Beal, who John Wall needs that ball in his hands. He's not necessarily a Steph Curry, obviously, that's just going to kill you with his scoring, shooting threes. John Wall can shoot threes. He's just not the greatest three-point shooter. But he's that, he's more of a pure point guard in the sense that he realizes his job is to facilitate for others.
What if Kawhi Leonard goes to the Wizards?
Or DeMarcus Cousins goes to the Wizards.
Dude.
Who's a free agent?
What if AD and DeMarcus Cousins
Well,
go?
and you and I had joked about this before John Wall had ended up signing the contract extension. Maybe he holds out. He goes to the Pelicans, right? And you assemble what would then end up being a Kentucky super team, just because of their college affiliation, right? But Gortat, yeah, he's a serviceable center, but he's also not on a DeMarcus Cousins level. And I think that's almost the bigger issue, I think, for Washington, is they don't have anybody to take the pressure off of John Wall. You have you have Bradley Beal there, yeah, but you're kind of like a two-headed monster then. Otto Porter Jr. is good,
but he's not some Kawhi Leonard, dude.
In that, yeah. And you look at, the Spurs, yes, you have Tony Parker on the end of his career, Manu on the end of his career, Pau Gasol on the end of his career, but still really good players. You have LaMarcus Aldridge, and if you could actually get Kawhi back ever, or communicating even apparently with the Spurs, that's a better team then. And Washington, I just don't think, has assembled a good enough team around him. Take the Pelicans, right? For years, didn't really put a whole lot around Anthony Davis. Drew Holiday has obviously kind of grown as a player. You bring in DeMarcus Cousins. You have Rajon Rondo and you have Etuan Moore that also plays. That's really good. You've got other players on the bench. Darius Miller comes in for him, gives them good minutes. But it's all about how Mirotic, they trade after Boogie goes down. like, you can see the benefit, obviously, in players who are good alongside of your superstar, right? Washington hasn't ever, I don't think they've really ever put a lot of effort into putting that around John Wall. So I think that's where their issue. I think, yes, they could have gotten a better matchup for them, but at the same time, I don't think it really would have made a whole lot of difference.
No, I still think the Pacers probably would have won anyways. If that was the matchup.
Yeah, I agree. They could have, like, maybe hopped up to where they were playing the Celtics instead of the Bucks playing the Celtics. And I think because there's kind of an apparent rivalry there, it might have been a better matchup, just because of the rivalry. But I want to hop over to the Pelicans Trailblazers, which both you and I picked the Pelicans to advance past the Trailblazers. And, this last game, Jrue Holiday goes off for 33 points.
He's an up and down player.
He's very inconsistent. But, when he's on his game, he's a great two-way player. And that's the thing is, like, how great he can be. But at times it's just like, what you doing, Drew?
Like, where you at?
Yeah. Did you forget what time the game was?
7:15.
But
come on now.
Rondo, had a really good game as well. Almost had a triple-double. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. Jrue Holiday goes for 33 points and 9 assists. AD goes for 22, Mirotic for 17. Like, they've been putting it together. Darius Miller comes off the bench, gives them 8 points. Clark comes off the bench, gives them 3. Like, the rotation is not huge by any means of players that get into the game. But at the same time, like, they're finding their stride and they're leaning on Anthony Davis. But then here, Jrue Holiday steps up. And I think the Pelicans can kind of make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. Maybe not a whole lot. And maybe it's just to get past the first round. Because if they can get past the Trailblazers, then it looks like they're going to be facing the Warriors. And that's probably where the end of the line is.
Well, I think in this moment of the Pelicans right now, I feel like this is a moment of it's time for you to step up your game and show what you got. This is your time, and if you don't, this is pretty much your end. Now, I'm not saying nobody's going to get traded, none of that. I'm just saying this is the time of, hey, this is your time to step up. Show me what you have. Show me what you got, and I'll see what you can do. And with all that going on, I feel like everybody's stepping up their game, trying to figure it out. They're finally putting the puzzle pieces together, and they're finally getting the team that they want.
You talk about, putting the pieces together. I don't think New Orleans would even be in this matchup in the 6th seed if Boogie was still, hadn't gotten hurt. Like, they would be scary. Even for Golden State in that next round, even if they say we're still the 6th seed, even the 3 seed, whatever, like, that's still a tough matchup for Golden State because then you got 2 big men that can move, that can shoot. Mirotic can shoot, but he also is not quite at that level of a DeMarcus Cousins. Anthony Davis has been playing out of his mind. And, it's just one of those things. It's like, you and I kind of saw this coming. Granted, game 1, they only won by a couple points. But then game 2, you win by 9. And it's like, okay, well, has Portland lost their confidence? So, are they down on themselves? Like, well, I guess we really can't beat them.
Well, the problem is I feel that Portland doesn't have enough superstars on their team. They got is it Jay McCollum? Is that what his first name is?
CJ McCollum.
CJ, okay. I knew it was something J, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, C.J. McCollum. You have
Damian Lillard, of course.
Damian Lillard.
Now, you used to have LaMarcus.
Right.
But he got traded. I can't remember.
Well, he signed he didn't get. I don't think he got traded. I think
was he a
he was free agent. Yeah, free agent to San Antonio.
Well, either way, they don't have enough superstars as the Pelicans do. They have Rajon Rondo, Drew Holiday, which I mean.
Well, and you say Rondo, yeah, is also on the back end of his career, but still gives you very serviceable minutes.
But I mean, he is like a. I look at him. I don't know if he's younger or older, but I look at him as like a younger John Wall.
He's older than John Wall, but whatever.
Well, either way, you know what I mean. Like I see him as like a.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, like
a better John Wall, I guess. Not a better, but you know what I like. You know what I mean.
He's a heavier passer than John Wall is.
Yes.
John Wall also will Rondo scores, but it's like Rondo's mindset is pass.
Pass the ball.
Pass. And you've seen it. You've seen it from him. He gets so pass happy that he just starts turning it over.
Right. So, I mean, with, AD and then, DeMarcus, depending on if he doesn't leave or not, they have superstars.
Well, and you say if he leaves or not. I think that's a key factor in there. I don't
think he will.
I don't think he will. I think he's comfortable there. The sad thing is DeMarcus loved it in Sacramento.
Yes. He loved being the main guy.
Well, and it's not so much about being he loved the city. He loved that area. He still goes back and does charity work there in Sacramento. He loved that area. Maybe not the ownership of the team and general manager, all that, because another example of never putting anything around him. Sacramento never put anything around DeMarcus, and I think that probably also led to his outburst on the court because he was probably just so frustrated with his team. But, it just, I think he does re-sign with the Pelicans, but we can get into that later on. But it just, I can't help but watch these games and go, man, how much better they would be because they were really hitting that stride when he went down. And it was just you play the what-if game, right? Obviously.
Right. Well, and, I feel that the playoffs would be a lot better if a lot of injuries, wouldn't have happened. Like, for instance, Kyrie and Gordon, Kawhi and that whole structure there.
Well,
and then even, Kevin Love. Kevin Love's back in, but I'm just saying, he just came off of an injury, so.
But here's also my other what if, right? What if the Pacers make the deal with the Cavs to send Paul George to the Cavs? Instead of Victor Oladipo being on the Pacers and PG being obviously down at OKC, there was apparently a deal in place to send Paul George to the Cavs, and it just fell through. So, we can play the what if game, obviously, but this is what we have to deal with. But real quick before we transition into our other topic for today, what about the Rockets Timberwolves? Any chance the Timberwolves even steal a game?
Yes.
Granted, there's only been one game played in this series,
right?
But any chance they can steal a game?
I think I said 5 on the whole Rockets thing. So, yes, I think that they will win at least one game. I'd be surprised if they won, if they went, 7 games,
Everybody would be surprised.
Oh, but I think they'll at least steal one game. I'm hoping next year with Jimmy and Karl Anthony Towns, I'm hoping that they do really well next year. But I think they'll just get one game and it'll be the end.
I don't think they steal a game. I think the Rockets just sweep them.
Really?
I do. The problem, for the Karl Anthony Towns, this is his first time in the playoffs. First playoff series. I think the same thing goes for same thing would go for Andrew Wiggins. Obviously, Taj Gibson has had some experience. Jimmy Butler's had experience in the playoffs.
Gorgie. I don't think he's had experience.
Gorgie hasn't. Yeah, Gorgie Jang there. And I'm trying to think of their point guard.
Oh,
Teague, Jeff Teague.
I don't know why, but I thought of Ricky Rubio.
Well, it's because he used to be there.
Right. No, I was like,
but
he's on the Jazz.
Yeah, I see it as a sweep. I think the Rockets are just too much for the Timberwolves.
It's reasonable.
And, I think the Timberwolves need a little bit more, not necessarily seasoning, but a little more firepower.
Yeah.
And then you have Pacers-Cavs tonight. Who do you think is going to win the Pacers-Cavs? Do you think the Cavs bounce back after one loss?
It's hard. I think it will be Game 5. Cavs will be 2, and then you got Pacers at the 3. And I think it's going to go to 7. I think it will.
I think tonight will tell us a lot of how many games it'll go in the series.
Oh, yeah.
If the Cavs win and the Pacers are close, I think you almost look towards 7. It's one of those things because obviously we talk a lot of LeBron because he's one of the more polarizing players, but at the same time, I just can't see him losing 2 straight games. I get it, he's done it before, but here in the first round, I just can't foresee him allowing the Cavs to lose a second straight game. So, I think the Cavs bounce back and series is tied up 1-1. But I think it might be a close win for the Cavs. Now, the other game is the Jazz, the Thunder.
By the way, that
with OKC leading 1-0 in the series so far, and
this series is fun for me. It really is, because you got 2 of the teams that you like.
Well, and I laughed, and you and I had talked about this. The game 1 wasn't a blowout by any means. OKC won by 8 points, which NBA that's not a blowout, but for the Jazz, the issue could be is if Donovan Mitchell plays. Do they have enough if Donovan Mitchell doesn't play? He's listed as questionable along with Paul George for the game. So,
well, they can easily replace Paul.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying. You can replace Paul George because you have Russ, you have Carmelo, and if Melo turns to the old Melo, you can replace Paul George's points. But for the Jazz, it'd be harder to replace Donovan Mitchell's points, which, speaking of Donovan Mitchell, you and I had talked about this. Bleacher Report on their Instagram story had put a redraft of the first 5 picks. And, we got, that whole what-if conversation. They had Donovan Mitchell going number 1 overall. Obviously, you can't redraft, but if you could, you would look and go, just this year so far, he'd be worth that number 1 overall pick. And, putting him on the Sixers now,
whoa.
They could probably be a 1 seed in the East, But, Donovan Mitchell suffered a left foot bruise in Game 1, and he's questionable. When you're talking about the foot, that's some iffy territory.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to push it too much and really, because that can damage a career to, have a foot injury. And you got to be cautious kind of with a foot injury. But I think OKC wins this one at home. And then, the Jazz maybe steal one or the second game there in Utah. And you go 6-7 games in the series. But it just... I don't know. Like,
Well,
I can see the Jazz making it tough on OKC, but I just...
No, the Jazz will not advance.
But I don't think so either, but because of Russ and Paul George. But, it just... Good matchup. If we're playing the ifs and buts game, like Donovan Mitchell on the Sixers, like, would be crazy to think of. But should be some good games tonight. You have the Pacers and the Cavs at 7, and you have that's on TNT. Then on NBA TV at 8 is the Jazz and Thunder, and then you have on TNT again at 9:30 is the Timberwolves Rockets. Which those late games for me, that Pelicans. Why you gotta do this? Well, like that Pelicans Trailblazers game the other day, last night actually, didn't start till 10:30. Like,
bruh, like I get it.
Like I feel like such an old man saying I can't stay up past 10:30, but at the same time, like
you got work, and stuff like that.
Like it's one of those things where you're just like, I don't want to stay up. Like it. Like, and I get it. They're on the West Coast, and time zone change, and all that. For them being just 7:30 then. Like I get it. It's just TV wise. I'm just like, I want to watch the game, but I can't watch the game. Like my eyes won't stay open long enough.
Exactly. Well, and that's the problem with NBA games starting so late. Is we have our time zone too.
It's just like when you're talking of college basketball, even the Pac-12. I don't watch a lot of Pac-12 games because they're played late at night when I'm trying to go to bed. When it's just time for a basketball game to start for them.
Right.
It's time for me to go to bed.
Yeah.
So, those should be good games tonight. Let's see. Cleveland looks like favored by 8 points tonight. OKC by 4.5, and Houston is favored by 10.5. So,
like it's been interesting playoffs just for one night, but the playoffs should be really interesting. I think that there will be at least one sweep in the playoffs. I don't know where it will be, but one sweep will at least happen. I think it's going to be the Rockets and the Timberwolves. But we shall see what happens. I think it's going to be interesting and really exciting to watch.
Well, and I've told you off air that playoff NBA basketball is the best basketball.
Oh, there's no doubt.
I love college basketball. I love watching the tournament. But when you get to the NBA playoffs and everything matters so much more, like these dudes step up their game and you can see that they are the best players in the world playing, this game. So, it obviously is just the best time to be watching the NBA, and usually the only time that I watch the NBA more and more is the playoffs because they play harder. It doesn't seem like they're taking so many games off. But speaking of taking games off, one other quick thing wanted to get to. I know you saw this as well, Rylee. Anthony Rizzo of the Cubs was doing a radio show. I believe it was an ESPN radio show. And the discussion came up about shortening the Major League Baseball season. Now, the current Major League Baseball season is 162 games. Like, that's a lot of games to play.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that you and I don't really discuss it a whole lot on here is that it's so many games.
Right.
Unless we were, doing a Major League Baseball update every week, it becomes monotonous. And the reason we don't talk about it a whole lot now, we will talk about it some more as bigger stories, I guess, happen as we get a little later into the season. But I think it's too long. I don't know how short you make it.
I was gonna say,
how
would you make it?
Well, and because like you can play a doubleheader in baseball, versus you can't really do a doubleheader in football. Like it just doesn't work. But it's one of those things that I don't know. Do you go to 150 games? You take 12 off there.
I'm going big. I'm going 100.
See, 100 I feel is too. Maybe like
120.
135.
Really?
Well, and I think maybe 130, 125. Yeah, that works.
And don't take this as hating on basketball, baseball. But like baseball, you throw a ball. In basketball, you're constantly running, shooting, hopping, jumping. In baseball, you're just. I mean, especially I feel like you're an outfielder, because I've been there, sadly. But like, you don't really get that many balls as much.
Well, you don't. They're not always hit in your direction, but at the same time, you have to be on the ready, for them to be hitting your direction.
Right, and I give props to those fielders, but I just like you don't do as much. You just chill, wait for the batter to hit, like pop flies. Like those don't really take much.
But like Rizzo's comments come after in this season already, right? Major League Baseball has already had to postpone 24 games this season.
Right.
So do you do less games and start it, in May? Like here's maybe how you can do it. What if you make your spring training a little bit larger? Or start it later, and then you go, to, say 130 games. Like that's still, yes, a lot of games. But also when you consider the NBA plays 82 games, and baseball is a different type of game, obviously. Like players would have to agree to take less money. Maybe you can work in a deal where these contracts that are in now, in effect, are like grandfathered in, or you get a like reduced per game salary, I guess, and you get like a yearly bonus thing, to help with the contract, so it's not so heavy on like per game. But I don't know. There's a lot you can do there.
Yeah, there's too many options. That's the problem.
Well, and yeah, you would have to fine-tune it. But, the obvious thing is players are going to have to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
Because if there's not as many games, there's not as many televised games, there's not, there's not as many advertising.
Right. There's
not as much money then. So, obviously, you would probably have to take a little bit of a pay cut. But there are things and ways people can figure it out, and figure solutions into being able to shorten the season, but still the players get paid, grandfathering in contracts or whatever it might be. But those are just interesting comments that we kind of wanted to hit real quick. Considering we don't talk a whole lot of Major League Baseball. And probably really won't talk a whole lot unless some big stories pop up. We could go into the struggles of Giancarlo Stanton in New York and all that, and we might. But at the same time, long season. We got a lot of time to be able to talk baseball.
Well, and that also goes to what you guys want to hear. If you guys want to hear us talk about, what's his name? I can't pronounce it well because apparently I suck at spelling names.
Giancarlo Stanton? Aaron Judge?
English. English, dude. What'd you say?
Giancarlo Stanton?
Okay, whatever Dishmond said. Anyways, let us know if you guys want to, write us a review. Tell us what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to see. And I'm hoping that, when you guys write this review, hopefully you'll give us a 5-star rating and let us know how you feel about us. Dishmond, you want to get the handles?
So you can hit us up on Facebook or on Twitter. Let us know what you want to hear, what you want to hear more about, the handles would be pretty simple, at R&D Sports Report. You can look it up on Facebook that way. You can search us on Twitter that way. Go hit us up. Let us know what you want to hear more of. If you want to hear more baseball talk, we'll talk more baseball.
But you gotta let us know.
You gotta let us know what you want to hear. You want to hear more baseball, we will talk more baseball for you then. But like I said, hit us up, Facebook and Twitter. Both the handles are RD Sports Report. And if you want, you can go to Facebook and you do facebook.com/RD Sports Report, or you can just search it. You can find us there. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter. Go write us a review. You can leave us what you want to hear more of, but before you do that, hit the 5 stars, right? Hit that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so these come to you automatically. Whatever you're listening on, hit the favorite button, whatever you have to do to be able to get these automatically as they drop, as they become available. And like I said, just hit us up. You got a story for us that you want to get our thoughts on, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook. And with all that being said, Rylee, I think that'll do it for another episode of the R&D Sports